Hi, welcome to Room to Grieve podcast. We're your hosts, Karen and Bec. Grab yourself a cuppa, find a comfortable spot, and we'll journey through grief together.
Hi, welcome to Room to Grieve again. Thank you for listening in. And today we've got a very special guest. This is Angela Byrne.
Hi.
Hi
Everyone. Hi.
And can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I work for Teenage Cancer Trust and I'm a youth support coordinator. So I'm non-medical, but I support teenagers and young adults through their cancer diagnosis and treatments from the ages of 13 up to 24. So non-medical, but they're as like an extra support system emotionally, psychologically. So I work at the Christies Hospital at the Proton Beam Centre, which is where I met Emily, Karen. So I'm mainly based there, but then we do extra activities like residentials in the Lake District, concerts in London, various other things. Yeah. So we're providing activities for young people while they're having treatment. And then for local patients, 2 years, up to 2 years after they finish the treatment as well.
Okay.
So,
So it's kind of a distraction and a support sort of thing,
it is,
really.
Yeah, it's there. We're trained specifically to work with that age group, and we provide age-appropriate activities, and we signpost to other organisations as well. So it's very specific to that age group. So I work out of the hospital mainly, but also I will go on these residentials and things as and when they come up. And I can also support during their actual treatment as well. So like I used to support Emily when she went for her treatment. Sometimes get involved with the prep. Some people have to have masks made, stuff like that. So I can be there supporting them actually while they're receiving treatment as well.
I think also it's a good point to bring up here. You can actually be quite a bad influence on some occasions.
Yeah, thanks, Karen.
Yeah. Did you actually introduce my daughter to vintage?
Yes.
And encourage her to buy
good shout.
Great big boots with like sticky things coming out of them, like weapons.
Of course, that's part of my job to do that. Yeah.
Do you remember her handbag, the knuckle duster handbag she bought?
I do. Yeah. No, it was great. Emily were great, honestly. So
you have to be down with the kids a lot as well, then, and know all this.
I don't try to be or pretend to be either, but I think I kind of. Well, I like the kind of stuff that Emily liked as well. I liked as well. So when Emily first met me, I had bright pink hair. Emily had come from the children's service, which I think is very different to when you come to a place where there's it's a specific unit for teenagers and young adults.
So what's the children's service?
So from the children's hospital where Emily would have first gone. There's a lot of little children there at the children's hospital, and I think it's more geared towards younger children.
Yeah.
And you found that as well, didn't you? So,
Emily complained about that on numerous occasions. She said the teenagers should have had their own waiting room, like they did at Christie. Yeah. She loved the Christie.
Yeah.
She loved itself, obviously, and she loved Penn. Yeah. You just had an understanding of the teenagers.
Yeah.
Where there was
because I imagine there's a big difference between, sort of an 8-year-old and a 15-year-old in how they respond to their treatment.
Massive. Yeah, and it's the environment that you're in as well. I think having sort of an age-appropriate environment. So, Teenage Cancer Trust formed in 1990, and the founders of Teenage Cancer Trust. Their son was going through treatment, and he was a teenager, and they found that he was either getting treated alongside small little children and babies on a children's ward, or he was placed in an adult's ward where there were a lot of elderly people there as well. Yeah. So that's where Teenage Cancer Trust came about, building these units. So it started in 1990 in Middlesex, and now there's 28 specific teenage and young adult units across the country, across the UK now. And they're the only charity that work with that age group, provide specialists, nurses and youth workers to work with that age group, and provide facilities and activities for them as well. So even if they've got to stay in hospital, they've got their own ward, they've got their own rooms, they've got TVs in the rooms, they've got a hub where we've got pool table, jukebox, TV, PlayStations. So
sounds
everything,
good.
Yeah, it is so good. It makes such a massive difference to have that age appropriate for them. It
and for siblings visiting and stuff as well. I think probably
definitely.
Better environment for the whole family.
Yeah, I think they feel more at ease, and there's more things to do. It distracts you away from what's going on as well. So that does work in that respect as well.
Well, it makes it feel like it's not a hospital.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
because,
it's done. Yeah.
Yeah, every day that Emily went in for 6 weeks, every day that she went for treatment, there was never, I don't want to go there. She used to love going there. I mean, she was still a child, but a child getting in the car, going to have your brains out, that she used to say, she enjoyed it. And that was because of the environment that they had created.
And for you as a parent, that's one battle won, right?
It's one less worry.
Yeah, because that's difficult enough in itself, isn't it? I remember some of the days we had to get Bradley up early in the morning for early morning appointments. The typical teenage, I don't want to get out of bed was, that was a fight in itself sometimes.
We do take that into account as well. So I can advocate on behalf of a young person. And so I could sort of liaise with like the radiographers and go in and say, this time next week, can we have this time appointment? Could you try and get it a bit later on? They're feeling really tired and they're wanting to get a lay in. So we do that kind of work as well.
And for you to build that rapport as well, and that gives a friendly face and some sort of comfort and security, I think, when they arrive, because we didn't have any of this for Bradley. I don't know whether it just wasn't available to us or quite why we didn't, but it would have been nice if he'd have seen the same person every time we didn't see anybody when we went for radiotherapy other than whoever was operating the machine, came out, called his name, bolted him to the table, took the pictures and said goodbye kind of thing. And that was different most days. So it would have been nice if there had been some continuity there. And I guess with you being able to provide that does make things a lot easier. But I guess equally that's quite tough for you, right? Because you build up these relationships and these friendships with these kids, don't you? And, as we know with Bradley and Emily, not everybody gets a happy ending.
I think it's my responsibility as well to make sure that, while they're there for that length of time, I'm doing the best that I can do to my ability to make sure that time that they're there with us, it's the best it can be for them at that time. So I'm very much sort of like, I want to do that. I want to try and help and make that happen. If I can, I'll do my best to try and do that.
That's amazing.
But then I was saying to Karen earlier, most of our young people come from all over the UK for proton beam therapy. So it's only when it's a local patient that I tend to then sort of keep in touch, because once a young person comes from Birmingham, they'll then go back to Birmingham.
So what's the difference between the proton and the photon therapy, just for people listening?
The proton it's a type of radiotherapy, but it's used very much. There's a panel that you have to go through, and there's lots of boxes that you've got to tick in order to get this proton treatment, and it's only because of the way in which it works. It's no different to conventional radiotherapy, other than that it can be used for tumours that are more hard to reach, or it might be that some young people have an operation before they come to Proton, then have the Proton to clear anything that might be still there, or it might be that they come to Proton to have a tumour shrunk, and then they go on then to have an operation. And it might also just be another stepping stone in another treatment. It might be that they then go on and get chemotherapy or radiotherapy again. So it's very specific, but that's just because of the way in which the Proton works. So it can't treat every single tumour that there is.
Okay. Proton's not the standard of care, is it? Ordinarily, like Bradley went for radiotherapy, but I think his would have been the photon type radiotherapy. Yeah. That's the standard of care, isn't it?
Yes.
Am I right in saying there's only 2 Proton machines in the UK?
Yeah, there's Manchester and then there's London.
Yeah.
As well.
You've been to London.
I've been to London, yeah. I've been to look at London. But theirs is not as nice as ours. No. Ours is theirs is underground. Because in London, because they're so short of space in London, and the hospital's already, a high rise building, then they had to go and they had to dig down and go below.
Oh, blimey.
So yeah. But where we are in Manchester, there's lots of windows, there's lots of greenery. Feels very spacious. It's beautiful building, really nice. Yeah.
Even walking into the building is like walking into. Almost like a hotel.
It is. I think it's been. I think it's been designed that way as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that it doesn't feel like you're in a hospital.
So kids are not scared.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a prison. Yeah. Do you think the Proton Beam will get rolled out a little bit more across the UK?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's plans for this panel to sort of dissolve a little bit, so it's going to start being a little bit easier to get through for. Proton.
I guess it wasn't even offered as a consideration, as even a suggestion for us.
I think for the first 5 years anyway, because it's so new, they've had to kind of like work up. So they've had to get themselves established. But they are looking at it for a future treatment. They've just started doing some breast cancers because it's mainly been head and neck and brain. But now we've got some breast cancers, we've got sarcomas as well now. So it will be a future treatment for different types of cancers. It's just that it does have to like work up, and there's only three gantries. They call them gantries, where the treatment's delivered. There's only 3 at the minute, but there is a 4th one. But the university's using that one, but soon that will finish, and then we'll get a 4th gantry as well, and then we'll be able to accept more people as well. Then, so it is going to get easier, and I think the pathways are going to open up a bit more as well. Okay. As people get to know about it, because there's still a lot of people that don't really know about Proton.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I've just obviously done lots of research around Bradley being ill, and I think Bradley had finished his radiotherapy before I even really learnt what it was. Before I really came across it, because like I say, it wasn't suggested for us. But having done my research since, I've realised that it is actually sort of a better way of radiotherapy, if you like. It's more targeted, I think, isn't it?
It is, and it's to like reduce late toxicities as well. So and then I suppose then it depends. I think they've got to have like a pretty good prognosis for it as well. So I suppose it depends what stage you are as well.
Mm-hmm. And where it is.
Where it is, and how it's behaving, how it's growing, how it's acting. So I know that there is a lot of sort of stipulations to it.
I think with Emily, speed was of the essence, and it was decided that Photon was quicker, and that's what she was needed. Yeah. And so that's why we didn't have Proton.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. So in terms of sort of kids receiving their diagnosis, I mean, from what I've kind of seen within this whole cancer community that you kind of become a part of when your child gets diagnosed, the kids, the teenagers, they actually take it quite well, and they tend to deal with it a lot better than we do as parents anyway.
That's
is that something that
definitely, yeah. Young people, they're very resilient. Like they do see things very much like it is what it is now. And I think as well, as much as like media gets like quite a slagging off as well for some things, and like we do say sometimes, don't go looking on Google, just come and ask us, don't go looking on there. But I think with media as well, I think it has brought young people on a lot more, and I think they understand a lot more, and things aren't hidden from them so much anymore. So yeah, I do find that they are quite resilient and quite mature as well for their age, and kind of just think, well, sort of what's next? Come on, then, what have we got to do now?
Yeah,
let's just crack on.
Yeah.
That's not the case for everybody. I mean, we do still get some young people where parents have decided that they don't want to say the C word. Right. They don't want the young person to know, which is complicated when they come.
Does that make it very hard when you're on a cancer ward and your teenage cancer trust? Like, exactly. How do you get around that one?
Yeah, we can't really. I mean, we'll say to the parents, what happens if your child does, sort of want to come ask and speak to me about it, sort of, where are you with that? And they're quite adamant that they don't want you to speak about it to them. So then you're kind of like left with, well, what are you going to say to your child then?
Yeah. Because you can't help them then. Surely your hands are tied.
This is it. I mean, I can speak as much. I mean, we don't even talk about cancer a lot, really, do we?
We never spoke about
No, we spoke about everything else but cancer, which is normally the case. Okay. But every now and again, you do, like, we could be just sat painting or something, and then a young person could turn to you and say, I feel like this today or that today, and, F you to cancer and things like this. And you could end up having a conversation about it.
It's not even been planned or anything.
Yeah,
it's just
it just kind of just happens. So, so it's complicated, yeah. But I generally do find, young people are very resilient and quite, they just want to get on with it.
Matter of fact,
yeah.
I know when we had fortnightly meetings with Emily's consultant, and he would say, do you still want to go on? This is, you've got another 21 days off and then you'll start your chemo again. You don't have to carry on. And she was like, I do. Of course I do. And it was all very matter of fact. That's how I thought most of them were, and talking to people and listening to mums, that there was no, even the younger children, although they had different, I know there's a nurse that works there who's absolutely amazing. She's like the play nurse. Pen, what's her title?
Play specialist.
Yeah. And kids that you don't think about with the younger ones being scared to actually go in to have the treatment or to even have the mask made and stuff like that. And she's amazing with them. You sort of forget how difficult it must be with the younger ones, because the older ones just accept, and they, like we said, they're so matter of fact, and they just get on with it.
Yeah, they do.
There's no tantrums. There's nothing, is there, with the majority of them?
There's at times where obviously they're very, very fed up with it all, and it can affect their education, for one.
Yeah.
And it might affect their friendships. Perhaps they lose their friendships.
They've everything secondary that's going on other than the cancer and the treatment is, you don't expect it. That is a whole different game, isn't it? People just disappear.
Yeah, they don't know what to say. Friends don't know what to say.
And especially in those age groups when, you know, certainly as you're sort of hitting 15, 16, 17, you're only just starting to really learn who you are, and you're only really starting to identify with who you are. And now all of a sudden you are actually changing as a person because you're ill. So then it's actually like, who am I and who do I fit in with? Because actually I'm not the same as anybody else. So that's got to be really tough for them to identify who they are and where they fit and who they fit with. And I guess having other people in the hospital who are the same as them probably helps. I guess having other people that are on the same ward as you, I guess they build friendships there, right?
Definitely. They get peer support. I mean, I do like a pizza evening once a month, or we'll go and play mini golf, or we're always doing something. And that peer support there is massive, because, you know, they're with people a similar age going through a similar situation, and they can kind of talk to each other about that in a way that, you know, nobody else knows how to. And, you know, and then they'll talk about things that, you know, just everyday things that they talk about at that age anyway. So they're still being themselves, they're still being them young selves, they're still expressing themselves. But with a group of people that are, you know, an understanding of that situation.
That's really good. Sounds really important.
So, yeah, so we do offer peer support groups. And then we'll offer like body image support groups, like specific types of group working as well.
Oh, what does that mean?
Body image. So kind of like it's just discussing very informally. We do the boys and the girls separate because we've tried to do it together, but it just doesn't work. So the things that we talk about with the girls is the girls' things and the boys things. So it's female staff for the girls and male staff for the boys. But we'll have an informal chat about body image. We'll probably use some like media techniques, like looking at you know, all these stars that have been filtered and everything, and we'll discuss, you know, what's reality and what's not. And then within the group, then if anybody wants to discuss anything that they've been going through together as a supportive group, and then also we've got a female psychologist at the hospital as well. So then if it's felt that anybody wants more deeper chat about these things, then can be referred to Louise as well. She sits in on the body image group. And then the other half of it is it's quite light-hearted again, but it's the Look Good, Feel Better. I don't know if you've heard of that organisation.
No.
And the other side of it, which can be argued that the two and two, well, they do go together, but we've just spent, say, an hour talking about body image, and then the Look Good, Feel Better presents with £200 worth of makeup. And they take you through a hybrid session on looking after your skin, cleansing your skin, and then applying this beautiful makeup that's been supplied by like YSL and Bobbi Brown.
Nice.
I never got any of that.
It's something new. It's for young people, Karen.
Yeah, but she could have said she wanted it and give it me.
No, it is new because, well, it's not new, but it's only just started again because during COVID, everything stopped in COVID, and they're still hybrid, still not actually coming in to deliver the session.
Right.
So that's like a body image session that we do, and it's the makeup's a very good incentive to get them there.
Yeah.
And the real purpose behind it is that we're offering some peer support, and if it is identified that there's more needs there, we can then sort of signpost to the psychologist team as well.
Yeah. It's good that there's all these things that are available as support for them. You know, they're things that you don't ordinarily think about, I guess, really. You know, but I guess it makes a huge difference to the kids. It makes them feel a bit seen and heard and a bit more supported, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So, what made you sort of go into this role? Was it something that you wanted to do?
Have I told you this
No,
before?
I don't think so.
Well, I used to have a pub. I had a pub. You know that, don't you? I had a pub for many, many years. And I used to employ young people because a lot of the time I needed people to work at weekends. I needed waiters and waitresses. It was quite a busy food pub, pot washers, all that kind of thing. So where young people were readily available, wanting work, sort of like bottling up on like a weekend and just odd jobs and stuff like that. So I did used to employ quite a lot of young people. And then you'd see them then sort of grow up with us. They'd stay with us. They'd go off to college or they'd go off to uni. And then during holidays, they'd come back and work and do holiday work and work over Christmas and stuff. And then when I decided that I'd peeled enough potatoes for the rest of my life, I got fed up. I decided to sell the pub. And then it was actually like this group of young people who had worked for me in the past that kind of said, well, I think you ought to work with young people because we loved coming to work for you and we really enjoyed it and we learned so much and we just think you were really good with us and you got a good way with young people. So then I thought, oh, right. So I started looking at university courses and then found the course that I wanted to do, youth work. And then I had to go to college and get my grades up to scratch. And then eventually got to university and spent 4 years, I think. And then a year doing placements, working with young people, which was one of my placements was at the Christie. So I did that for 4 months and then a job came up. I got offered the opportunity to go for the job and I got the job. And that was going as an outreach youth worker. So that was going up to Preston and Blackpool and Lancashire and Blackburn and Bury. That was visiting young people that had decided to have treatment closer to home. Okay. So whereas at the Christies, like a principal treatment centre. So I spent a bit of time going out on outreach. That was really good. I used to meet young people at their hospital, at their home, or just out in the community. That was really good. I'd spent some time on Palatine ward anyway, on my work placement. And then COVID happened. I worked from home for 3 weeks. It drove me bonkers. And then my boss said you could go and work out of Proton if you wanted to. So, and then that's kind of like where it went from there. Ended up in Proton. I've been there 4 years now in Proton. Yeah. So, and I do a bit of both now. So I sort of class as Proton as being the working in the hospital bit. And then all the activities that I do is sort of the outreach stuff. I've sort of got a mix of it all. And I've also got the opportunity to do studies. I can still study for other things. I've recently put in a piece of work, which hopefully I will be presenting in Australia in December.
Wow.
Funding permitting.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's a job that, you know, even though I'm non-medically trained, I'm still getting opportunities to have some impact.
Are you allowed to talk about what you're doing in Australia?
Yeah.
Because that's really interesting.
So at Proton, and I think in some radiotherapy as well, mainly in radiotherapy, they use, depending on where your treatment is, they use permanent tattoos. So they permanently tattoo young people for alignment in treatment, so that every day when they come for Proton, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day for typically 6 weeks. So the tattoos are done so that they're always in the same position every day. So the treatment's going in the same place every day. So that all makes sense and perfectly understandably so. But they've been doing tattoos now for the last sort of 30, 40 years. And my work is based on how young people feel about getting these permanent tattoos.
What do they look like?
So they are tiny. They are tiny, and they generally have about 6 or 3 and really sensitive areas as well, like the chest and then lower down as well. They're really painful to receive. They give them on these little like wooden pegs with a little needle. They dip them into like the ink, and then they have to insert the needle and then twist the needle and then pull it back out again. It's really awful. It's awful to watch. I think even the radiographers don't actually like doing it as well. So I've got some original research around the thoughts and feelings of young people receiving the tattoos, and then also past and present proton patients that have answered these questions and about how they feel about them now as well, because they're going to be there forever. They're permanent. So I've had mixed responses. It's really interesting. But I do want to sort of question the professionals as to why we've got all this latest technology, but then when you look at how we're still doing this, how sort of barbaric it is as well. Why are we still doing this in this day and age with all this technology that's available as well?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do. Again, advocating on behalf of young people as well, and trying to make change. Giving them a choice. Even if it was just maybe if it was like the consultant said, well, we 100% recommend that you have these permanent tattoos because they will always be there, and you will always be in the same place every day, or offer some alternatives to that. There's even technology now where like a young person wouldn't even have to be tattooed. There's technology out there now using sort of cameras and computer systems, where it would show them where they needed to be lined up.
That's my assumption was,
or something that would last just the 6 to 8 weeks.
I mean, there's even some of these like fake tattoos that you get now. They're brilliant. They last for ages. But I suppose what they're wary of is that it can't be washed off, because then if they were washing it off every day would then be a delay in treatment, and that would then impact everybody's treatment then, and they would have to go back to square one every day, which is that's not doable.
But you think in this day and age some alternative must be out there somewhere.
Well, I know there are, because we've had people refuse on like religious grounds as well. And then just people who just don't want them. So it's then you question sort of, are you getting the tattoo so that you can get the proton treatment? Do the two have to come together? That'd be like another project then.
Could you go somewhere different than Australia?
Maybe
Bali.
Maybe
I
don't know. I don't know. I think I'll only get to go to one international congress, I think. But then the news is then it's spread around the world. I know there's going to be a Proton Centre in Australia opening soon as well. So if we all work together on it as well, we'll wait and see. Might get a machine named after me.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah,
there's so much that I haven't really even considered that goes on, really. Like hadn't even given a consideration that you'd even get a tattoo, let alone it be a permanent thing. And I suppose for some people that permanency of it is either a sign of what I've overcome, or it's a reminder of what you've endured, right? It's not always a positive thing for everybody, is it?
And I think the majority of the feedback that came back was very positive. But again, I think young people are.
Yeah.
I think it's just a mindset that they've got as well.
And do you work a lot with the families as well as the patients? I know you've spoke to Karen quite a bit. And...
For some young people, Emily was just like, we just ate it off straight away. Yeah. But with some young people, everybody's different. And I'm different. It might be that, one young person prefers to work with another colleague of mine. That's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah,
with some young people, I have to get to know like the parents first or the carer first. They're sort of like the keystone to me. Then getting to know the young person as well. And not only that, I spend a lot of time there. The adults, parents, carers, they spend a lot of time there as well, whilst they're off in treatment. So and it's good if you can speak to the family and sort of get a sense of where they're at, or if there's anything that they like doing or they don't like doing, or
because you can help each other really.
Yeah, definitely.
You can help the family, and the family can give you feedback, which you don't just use with that young person. You can take it on board, and it's like. And if I wanted Emily to do something that I knew she would say no to me, I'd just tell you, and then you could say, "Oh yeah, Angie said I'm to do this." And I go, "Oh, really? That's a good idea."
Naughty.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does as long as it's all helping.
Yeah.
And
yeah, no, it all sounds really interesting. I don't think it's something. I mean, I'd say I don't think it's something I could do, because before I spoke to you today, I felt like it was going to be like a really heavy job for you emotionally. And I guess there's elements of that, but actually your job sounds real fun.
It's got a lot of elements to it, actually. I mean, we kind of get sort of, if somebody says, "Oh, youth support coordinator, what do they do?" They'll probably tell you that we play cards and we play pool and generally not much else. But we do that. But the truth is, when you actually then start talking about what you do, I don't really realise what I do.
No, it's a lot.
Yeah. And then sometimes people will say things to you and you'll think like, God, I had no idea that I did that.
No,
it's like might be just one thing that you've said to somebody, or one thing that you've done with somebody, and it might mean like that it's made their day, or it's made their week, or and we don't actually realise, or I don't actually realise sometimes I'm actually doing it, because it just feels so natural.
You just do it.
I just do it, and like I say, and then there's all these different elements to the job where you can go off and do this study work. You can do work. You can do stuff with Teenage Cancer Trust. You can have an impact on the service. You can work with other professionals within your team. You can be that spokesperson. Like I say, even though I'm not medically trained, a lot of young people or parents, families, sometimes speak to me before they've even spoke to the consultant.
I think
about something.
The younger person would probably be more comfortable asking you, because you're not medically trained. Because I mean, it didn't bother Em. Because she had Dr. Pan, and Dr. Pan just
she's amazing,
just absolutely lovely. And you could ask her anything, but Em would ask you anything as well.
Yeah.
So,
and like I say, I'm not always there to talk about, because I don't know loads about cancer, because I'm not medically trained. So I've only picked up what I've picked up from working there. So I'm no expert in cancers. So I think that as well, because I don't know, like sometimes I'll have a young person tell me all about their cancer, and I'll be sat listening to them, and they'll be educating me about it, because I won't have a clue about what it is, or what it's doing to them, or and especially like I hear nearly all the time about how it's been misdiagnosed.
Right.
That's a common in teenagers and young adults. It seems very common that they go to the doctors, they keep going to the doctors. It goes down as growing pains, or they've been playing football too much, or things associated with that age group. And then it's not until something sort of fatal happens, or you've got a persistent adult that's keeps taking you back.
Yeah.
That you then find out, you end up with that kind of like an X-ray or something, and that's when you find out.
Yeah.
So
we had that with Bradley with his Crohn's, not so much with the cancer. Bradley had Crohn's too. For a year or so before we got the diagnosis, we kept taking him to the GP, and we kept being told that it was anxiety and it was mental health. And when you think, not Bradley. He just, he's far too laid back for that. But they were like, no, kids just show it in different ways. And then you start questioning yourself as a parent, like, is he really struggling mentally? Am I just not looking for this right? You know, like, is he pretending to be ill because it's all a mental health thing? And you start really questioning it. And then for us with Bradley with his Crohn's, one day he just came home and he was like, Mum, I'm really ill. And I was in a meeting and I was just at the end of my tether, and I was just like, do you know what? Get in the car. Let's go to A&E, because like I'm sick of this. I'm sick of hearing it. And I'd lost my temper a little bit and stood in A&E and just said, I'm not leaving here. I'm not leaving here today. Do something about it. And they admitted him. And then, yeah, very quickly it all turned out, actually, no, he's got really severe Crohn's. He is really ill. But, you know, I wonder how long that would have gone on for, of us going backwards and forwards of, you know, he's just 15, he's 16, it's just a mental health thing. And, yeah, it does seem to be very difficult to sort of separate between kids actually what is going on nowadays. It's a common thing that I've heard of a bit, really.
Yeah.
Which is is a shame then when they end up being very poorly with cancer and things. And then I guess that impacts their trust in the medical system too, and probably impacts your job and makes your job a lot harder.
Yeah. And I think especially when as well, like a lot of the time you'll see a lot of young people scared of like getting needles and all that kind of like medical stuff that then becomes pretty much an everyday thing. But still, I think that's a big part where the trust has been lost as well, or they've had a negative. They've had somebody hurt them, or. Yeah. Whereas I'm not there with any needles. I'm not coming to do anything to you. So I think that's kind of like where
it's one up for you.
It's one up for me. Yeah.
Em used to love having blood because she used to love the challenge that she gave them.
Yeah, trying to get it. Yeah,
blood. Could never get blood. She had to have it in the end out of her knuckles. Because there was just no veins left in her arms, and she just said, "Don't bother with the arm." She said, "There's one there. You might get something there today." And they listened at Christies. Yeah. They listened every time, and they went, "No, we won't." Emily, she went, "Right, go on then." She'd give them her hand.
Yeah,
and they did listen. You know, the nurses listened to what she was saying. She knew her body.
That's so good though, because that doesn't happen everywhere for everyone, so that is really nice to hear that she was able to advocate for herself and people trusted her to listen to that.
I think it was the swearing and the language that they did. That might have been involved.
Oh, bless her. Oh no, it's all really interesting though. Yeah, I genuinely thought that your job would be a lot sadder.
It can be at times, don't get me wrong, it still can be. But I think I just emphasise more so on, this is what I've got to do. I've got to make this time the best it possibly can be, and as, I don't know, normal as it can be. Yeah. Some kind of normality, if it can be that way.
It sounds like you do an amazing job at it as well. Like,
she does a fantastic job.
Yeah, definitely. It's just all really interesting. Is there any other parts of what you do that really stand out for you that you can think of that we haven't mentioned?
I think I notice a big difference when I go like on these residentials, or if I've not seen anybody for a while and then I see them again. That's like a massive impact.
Impact in what way? If somebody's poorly or they look better.
If you've seen somebody that's been really, really poorly, and then you see them out the other side and they're hanging off a cliff, and, stuff like that. That's good for me personally when I get to see and experience that. So that's a personal thing that I really enjoy. Because I don't often get the chance to do that. These residentials only come up every so often. And then I like it when we're not in the hospital as well. So I like it if, like, because I always wanted to take Emily to Affleck's Palace, didn't I? We never got there.
She wouldn't have made them steps, would
no.
she? No, she wouldn't have had the energy.
Affleck's Palace in Manchester, it's a must. You must go to it. It's very gothic.
Okay, very M.
Independent stores.
Yeah, a lot
you
of weirdos.
Can get anything from there.
Emma would have been right at home.
You can get anything from A to Z in there. Unbelievable. Sometimes you have to shut your eyes when you walk around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a must place. But I just don't always go there all the time. But we just do stuff like, I don't know, we go to mini golf, or we go to Nando's, or we just have a walk round Manchester. We go to Gay Village. We go Northern Quarter where there's all the graffiti, and then we'll just stop at a cafe or just random things like that. But you with a young person away from the hospital setting, and it's just like going downtown with your mate. It's just like,
do they open up as well?
Yeah, if they want to. I mean, that's another part of the job, is we never force anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. We'll say what activities we've got going on, and it's entirely up to them if they want to come on that activity. We don't force anybody or push anybody into doing anything. And then so then it's all natural. So it's all working informally, and but obviously we have got to be mindful as well that we have got to practice safeguarding as well. So we've got to have those professional boundaries in place. So we've got to learn all about that, and also if there's something disclosed that needs addressing through safeguarding, we've got to remind young people of that as well. So there are those responsibilities, but other than that,
fun.
Are you
can't go to a pub.
Can I buy my first pint at 15? No.
I'm not saying anything, but I wouldn't trust her with that.
We've been on a pub tour, but we've not been in them. I've sort of gone round Northern Quarter going, oh, and that's a good pub. Oh, and that's a good pub.
When you're old enough.
Yes, when you're old enough to go in, yeah. I do have to remember sometimes I am the responsible adult.
Are you provided with sort of counselling training and then counselling support for yourself too?
We have got the opportunity at the Christie to have counselling and support. It was something that I did try in the early stages, but the difficulty is you get like a mentor. But the only difficulty is that because our job is so different from any other job in the hospital, it's very hard to find a mentor that gets what it is, what you do.
You'd end up mentoring your mentor.
Probably. or taking it to pub with me, yeah. So I did give it a go, but I felt as though it wasn't giving me what I needed. So then I did have to then go and seek my own alternatives, which...
Did you need that at the beginning?
I think definitely at the beginning, yeah. I was kind of going out a lot more outdoors. So after work, I was trying to get a good walk in after work, just being outside in nature. Weekends, I'd go on walks. So yeah, I think that's my escapism is that I don't ever forget about my work and young people that I've worked with. I'll never forget Emily. But for my own space and time,
to reset,
to be
able
reset,
to go and do it again,
and to keep doing it again, because obviously there's so many more people coming through that need the help and support as well. And like I say, I make it a thing that while ever I'm there, that's my job and that's what I've got to do, and hopefully, and that's how I kind of channel what it is, and trying to give those young people that best time. See, because a lot of them are only there for 6 weeks, and then they've gone, and I don't get to see them again. So I have only got like a short window in which to
have an impact.
To have an impact as well.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's a big thing. You don't really know then what sort of the follow-up is, I guess. So
Not really. I mean, from time to time, you might hear about the odd young person, but not really know, because then they're passed over to, so like, say, just for an example, a young person coming from Birmingham Principal Treatment Centre will be then passed on to their Teenage Cancer Trust team there, so that if there's any local activities that are going off in Birmingham, they would access the Birmingham activities, and the young people would be from that area. So it'd be pointless pointless for them to keep coming back to Manchester and joining in our activities. But while they're actually with us, then they can join in with our Manchester Northwest sort of group.
I do think you go above and beyond your role.
Do I?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know when Emily was at the end of life, you came to see her.
Yeah.
And you didn't come to see her just to sit and hold her hand.
No.
You came to see her to give her hope.
Yeah.
Which is what I asked for.
And some reassurance.
Yeah.
Emily still wanted to do something, even though she was so poorly. She was still adamant she wanted to do things, didn't she?
Yeah. So you gave her the idea of a podcast.
Yeah.
You said, let's do a podcast.
Yeah.
And just a few days before she died, she was still talking about it. Yeah.
She was still adamant that she'd do it. So,
I said we'd be able to set it up here.
What was the podcast going to be on?
I think it was about her journey and helping teenagers to get through the journey.
Yeah, and she had a positive spin on when she first came for all that prep, when she were having like a mask made and stuff. She loved it. So she wanted to put like a positive spin on it. She wanted to, reassure other young people that were coming through that, it's all right.
It's not, just like having a facial, she said.
Yeah, like having a warm flannel on your face, and then, because it's like this plastic that they heat up in like a little oven, and then they mould it to your face. And that bit is actually quite nice, that bit. But then it does set hard and goes cold afterwards. But that the part of it is to some people quite nice.
Yeah. So there's not many people that come into her home and sit and give her something to make her feel that
she could still
some fear away.
Yeah, exactly, and still have a purpose as well. She was still doing something and for other younger people as well, not herself.
No.
She was never selfish, never ever selfish. It were all about other young people and
making that difference.
Yeah. So I think as well, such as me doing this tattoo thing and that, I think that's opened my eyes up a lot more about the way young people think and the things that they want to do, and being involved in research. Making it better for your next generation coming through. She really cared about things like that, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, it was important.
It was,
but not in not wanting anybody to know it was important. She didn't. She wasn't forthcoming. She was, she was quite reserved in some ways.
Well,
but, that leads us to all me and Bec. I've briefly spoke to you about all the other stuff we want to do.
Yeah,
but we do think that the teenage years are like the forgotten years in a lot of things.
Yeah,
because they're not young children. So young children getting support in primary school, a massive amount of support. You go to secondary school and it's non-existent.
Yeah,
other than the odd teacher that's very who takes a personal interest. Like the primary schools will be, let's do cards for the child and let's do this. And they'd have like a rota of sorts as who's checking in with the child, what they're doing for them, sending them presents, and that just stops.
Yeah.
And it stops in many ways. It's not just when there's a child that's poorly, a child that's grieving doesn't get support once it gets into secondary school.
Yeah.
They're just penalised of anything of the bad behaviour. You've got the statistics, haven't you, from Child Bereavement UK of how many children are like put into isolation or expelled or whatever.
It's shocking, and how many children are just impacted. I think, I mean, this could be wrong, just to quote it off the top of my head, but I think it's like 29 children or every week or something that are bereaved of a primary person in their life, you know, and and very rarely do they get any support. I know just for our local school, just to speaking to, their sort of learning hub there, that they've said that their school's view on it is very much, let's leave the children a few months first, let's see how they settle, and then, if they're still struggling in 6 months, then we'll think about some intervention. And it's like, well, what does that child do during that first 6 months of what the hell is happening to my life?
Well, also, there was one particular school, we won't say which one it was or anything, but there was one particular school who has a policy where there was 2 children in the same class, both bereaved, and they wasn't allowed to tell the other. They weren't allowed to bring them together, that they could help themselves. They could be together, have somebody else going through the same thing.
Yeah, so that they were both taken out to be, monitored by the school to have this time out because they both needed it, but neither were told why they were put in a room together, and it was for the same reason.
Oh, it sounds so old-fashioned, doesn't it? Really old-fashioned,
It's got to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because people are scared of grief and death and cancer and, all the rest of it that goes with it. And I do see a lot that the teenagers, especially maybe not the ones that are ill, but the ones that are in the families of those that are ill, be it their parents that are ill or siblings or whoever, the kids often don't know how to handle it because they're kind of like, am I supposed to be grown up now? Am I supposed to take responsibility for the rest of the family when actually I'm completely falling apart? Or they just go, I've got to pretend this isn't happening. And for whatever reason, tend to either revert into themselves or act completely out of character. And that just tends to be ignored because nobody actually knows what to do. It's just like, I don't really know how to handle this, so I'm just going to pretend I can't see it. When actually, so much more, you have these conversations with these kids, like you were just saying, they're so much maturer than we actually give them credit for. And they know so much more than anybody actually realises that teenagers now know about. We didn't have the access to the things that they will have access to when we were younger.
They accept what they're told. Yeah. But when they're not told anything, they make their own ideas up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Humans are great storytellers and nothing more so than a child, right? That will fill in a blank narrative.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of organisations as well that don't recognise the siblings, do they?
No.
When it's, a young person's going through cancer and then they don't do anything for the siblings either. I think there's a big gap there. There is nothing. There's not a lot for siblings, and so therefore they can end up feeling really left out, can't they?
Yeah.
Whereas if they were doing something together, and then they could share that experience, and maybe that could help towards understanding.
That's something
better.
Something we're working on, isn't it, Bec?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I know. Definitely, there's a mass shortage of organisations that do things with siblings. Mm-hmm. It really needs to be more. Yeah,
because I've said it right from the beginning. A cancer diagnosis is not to an individual; it's to a family.
Yeah,
and that's not just cancer; it's any illness that involves such trauma.
Yeah,
and it's important.
Yeah,
everybody
impacts the family, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
And the word cancer itself is just so heavy. It has so many connotations to it, and just it's a scary word. But at the same time could mean so many different things. It doesn't actually mean that it has to be a scary word, but that isn't always explained to people, is it? And to kids and stuff nowadays. It's just, it's a really confusing time. I mean, we found as a family that we're a family of 6. Okay, so 5 of us now, but we're a family of 6, and when we asked for help after Bradley died, as much as this help was never materialised and we're still on the wait list for it, we were told that there was only facilities to support 2 of us, and we had to choose which 2. Because there aren't facilities to support a family of 5.
When Sydney went to the doctors, and what did he say to her?
Yeah, she asked for counselling from the local GP because we'd been told that only 2 of us could have this support. And he gave her a list of private counsellors to go and see, and gave her a website, and she went on and she was like, well, the average is about £80 an hour. She's a 26-year-old with her own mortgage. She's like, I really can't afford £80 an hour. And he said to her, well, do you have a car? She said, yeah. He said, well, just liken it to a new set of tyres on your car every month. She said, yeah, I can't afford that either. And he was like, oh dear, oh, okay. And then just left her with this piece of paper to this private thing, yeah. And that's it. And that's all the help that any of us have been offered.
Yeah. So I know we're lacking in services, aren't we? Big time in every department.
Well, I think we're lacking in education too.
We're lacking in education, which we're trying to change. But I don't know whether it's a postcode lottery, because I've had support.
Yeah.
Emily had support right through. Bradley didn't. It used to be embarrassing sometimes texting Bec the amount of support I had. Yeah. So can we have Angie back when she's world famous and been to Australia and she's had an award or a machine named after her?
That'd be good.
We'll be too little for you then, won't we?
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to have a title in front of your name next time.
Yeah.
But no, I really appreciate you coming on today, because, genuinely, I thought that your job was going to be a lot heavier than it is. And I know that, you're telling us about all the positive aspects, and I'm not by any means underestimating that there are some parts to it too. But, it actually sounds like really fun for the most part.
Yeah, well, we try to do that. We do try. We try to be a bit uplifting. But, but still, obviously, understanding of the situation that we're in as well, and respectful with people. But it's about getting to know that young person and kind of the wants and needs of that young person on that day as well. So it's about understanding, getting to know the young person, the family, and sort of trying to work out what we can do, understanding that the next day might be a completely different day. They might not want to talk to you next day.
I think teenage cancer, trusting yourself, your colleagues, you just get it,
just understanding that age group, having the skills, the age appropriateness and the understanding around that age group. So that's why Teenage Cancer Trust fund us to do those roles as well. And that's why we're specifically in like a principal treatment centre where we'd see most young people as well. And then providing us with like the tools and the knowledge that we need as well. And plus I went and did the youth work degree, which I think really helped as well. Because then that gave me like the theory behind young people, kind of like you said a similar thing earlier, Bec, about what they're going through at that stage in their life, the kind of things that they're doing, that gaining their independence, looking for work, what the economy's doing, and all those kind of things. So I've got the theory,
got the
theory behind it as well to understand. And then with a cancer diagnosis on top of all that's already going on as well.
Yeah. It's just done so well. I mean, and I've seen the alternative. I've seen in the Gustave Roussy Cancer Institute where I was with Emily. And we were
in Paris.
Yeah, in Paris. And we was in the waiting room and we heard this noise and along came this woman with these cymbals dressed in a clown's outfit with somebody behind with a ukulele. And Em, I can't say what Em said, right? I cannot repeat her words. Right, but she said,
probably what's going through my mind right now.
She said, are you videoing this? Are you videoing this? You have to show it Angie, right? I said, can you imagine Angie in a clown's outfit with a ukulele? And Although it was just so embarrassing because they come right in your face like that with the ukulele, and we're like,
wow.
No, thank you.
There's something we can do. Dress her as a clown. We can see her in the red nose.
Could you imagine? I'd get sacked on the first day for swearing.
Yeah.
You've done well, by the way, Bec.
Yeah, you've gone through we're an hour and 15.
I know.
Before you'll edit it and you've not said the F word once.
You're going to have to do a lot of swearing when you come off.
Yeah.
I've had to think about it 3 times. I've had to consciously be like, nope, can't say that.
We decided, me and Angie, we've been discussing it over lunch. We're going to get you a swear box, right? I'm going to have it here.
I'll be skint.
And I owe you, every time you swear, I'm going to put in them. We're going to empty it out at the end of the month and see what you owe. But we're going to have a brew now. We're going to go and have a brew. And we're going to have a Manchester tart. So,
yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, I had one of them when I came up. I'd never had one until I came up for lunch with Karen.
Yeah.
Didn't know what one was.
Yeah, so nice.
Yeah, you have loads of food up there that we don't have down here. Like, that are just not a thing. Like, I mean, I don't think you guys can go anywhere and just not order a pie. I think that's just a staple. Like, I say to Karen, like, ordering a pie around here is like, you might get one around winter if you're lucky. Like, it's just not a thing.
Oh, no, can't live without pie.
And do you have gravy as well?
Yeah, but like...
You won't go out and get meat and potato pie and gravy.
Wouldn't get meat and potato pie anywhere at all at any time ever. Like
when they come to ours, Simon says, "Will she make a meat and potato pie?"
Because that's what they want.
Like, that's just not even a thing. And a cheese and onion pie, well, I didn't even know what one of them was. Like,
she never heard of a cheese and onion pie.
Yeah, it's just like the weirdest thing. I mean, if we had a pie around here, if you went to a pub, like I say, you don't really get one around Christmas, and it would be a steak and ale, or it would be like a steak and blue cheese, or a chicken and mushroom, and that's about it, really. You wouldn't get anything that strayed.
Would it be like a suet? Would it be a suet?
No,
pudding?
it would be some runny casserole with a pastry lid. It wouldn't even like hold itself up.
It wouldn't even have a bottom.
No,
it wouldn't hold itself up. You couldn't take it out of like
it's not a proper pie if it's not got sides.
No, that's what I mean. Like, you wouldn't get anything like what you guys have.
No.
Yeah, it's just not a thing. That's not a thing. We do have, you see, we live not far from Melton Mowbray, so we do have pork pies. Yeah. We live not far from Melton Mowbray and Stilton, so we do have pork pies and cheese. So, yeah, so we do have them. But, yeah, Manchester tart I'd never heard of. There was something else you guys had, and I was like, I've never heard of one of them either. I don't even know what we have that you don't have. I don't even think we've got anything, like, sort of regional. Feel a bit sad about that. Can't even show off that we've got something better.
Yeah. She's posher than what she is.
Well, I'm just getting the impression with like the blue cheese and all that kind of thing.
We have Cheshire and cheddar. That's about it. And if we're really posh, we have Wensleydale with cranberries in it.
Oh, that's at Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
We always come back to food.
We have Black Bomber. Most places use Black Bomber and Colston Bassett. We're not far from Colston Bassett either, so we have a lot of that.
Is that cheese?
Colston Bassett is just type of blue cheese. Black Bomber's a type of cheddar.
I'd have said beer, some kind of beer.
Yeah, I thought it was like an ale or something.
Yeah.
Or no, it's a really creamy but crumbly cheddar. It's really nice.
We'll have to try some.
We'll have to do some swapsies, won't we?
Yeah.
We'll have to do you a hamper. You'll have to do us one.
I think yours will be a lot more fun than ours. I think we just steal foreign food around here. Like, I don't think anything's actually British. Yeah, but yeah, we do feel like we miss out on a pie. So that's something that Karen has to cook, whether she wants to or not. Thank you so much for doing this. Oh, we need to do the sign off.
So grab yourself a cuppa, find a comfortable spot, and we'll journey through grief together.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.